DMV Download, the new daily podcast from WTOP News, is out now. Hosts Megan Clorty and Luke Garrett get the story behind the story.
Every weekday afternoon, Megan and I will go beyond the headlines with WTOP reporters and sources to bring you more on the biggest local stories impacting you, our fellow Washingtonians.
The DMV Download podcast is available now on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe today so you don't miss an episode. The DMV Download podcast is presented by Steamfitters Local 602.
Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Jeff Goldblum performs a live jazz concert tonight at Strathmore in North Bethesda, Maryland. I spoke to the Hollywood icon about his journey from The Fly to Jurassic Park to Independence Day.
Hello. I'm so excited. Where are you, Jason? There you are.
Hey.
I see you. I like that little ivy plant that you've still treated very well and you've got it going. That's a real plant, isn't it?
That's all my wife. That's Ashley right there. So yeah.
Done a good job. And what's that? So woof. What's that woof sign behind you?
That's our beautiful little black lab Liberty.
I'm glad I asked. A black lab. I used to have a black lab named Buddy. We now have Woody, who's a red-haired standard poodle.
Oh, well, there you go. I appreciate you pointing out the background stuff, but I don't even know if our listeners will see it. But
they should know about it.
I'm glad you noticed.
They should know about it and how handsome you are. And even beneath that dark virile stubble, I see, don't you have a cleft in your chin like Kirk Douglas and Cary Grant?
Right there. Yeah. Wow. You're comparing me to two of the greats right there.
Well, you should be up there on the Mount Rushmore of virility, in my humble opinion.
The cleft chins Rushmore.
Yeah, I believe so. I'll give you a doctor's note that says as much.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, after that rousing introduction, we got to tell everyone what we're here talking about. Jeff Goldblum, the great, is coming to Strathmore tonight in North Bethesda at 8 p.m. And it's a jazz concert. So not only is he the movie star you know and love, but an acclaimed, accomplished jazz pianist. So tell me about your group, the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra. How long has that been around?
You know, here's the story. About 30 years. Is the hard fact of the matter. We've been playing out and about. I have been with a core group that's evolved. And when we played Hollywood Bowl some couple of decades ago, we didn't have a name yet. And it was for the Playboy Jazz Festival. And they said, we got to put something on the program. And I remembered this lady from Pittsburgh, a friend of ours named Mildred Snitzer. And there are only 5 of us, pretty much all this time. But I said, well, let's call it an orchestra. And so that was our name. It was kind of funny to me. And it stuck. And so we're still the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra. But I'll tell you, the guys I'm playing with now, several of them for the last 10 years, are some of the best jazz musicians in the world. And if you come to the Strathmore tonight, do you know that place?
Oh, it's beautiful. Have you been there?
No, we have not. This is our first time at that place and in this area. So I know a little bit about it, but I haven't been there. I can't wait. I think it's going to be great. So when you come there tonight, you'll hear some jazz, 50s, 60s Blue Note kind of stuff. We play some Thelonious Monk and Herbie Hancock, that kind of stuff. And there's some singing involved. But I kind of keep it loose and we play games with the audience. And there's questions and answers and trivia and all manner of movie talk and anything the audience wants to know about. I'm particularly interested always in who shows up and what they are up to. What do you think of that?
I love it. And if you just said you'd never been there, I'm telling you, when you walk in, the first time I went in there, I was expecting it to be grand, but it exceeded even those expectations. The way they've designed it is unbelievable. You're going to have a blast.
No. Great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So wait, well, I don't want you to burn the whole set list. Leave something up to the imagination, but like give us a few. We're playing some standards like Straighten Up and Fly Right. Come on. How do I say it? Come on to my house.
Come on to my house. Yeah, that was on the first album. And I don't want to give anything away, but we don't do that one. You may hear Straighten Up and Fly Right, which was a Nat King Cole hit, I believe, back in the days. But I love the way we're doing it these days. Oh, we start with something by Charles Mingus, I think. You know, that spectacular bass player that has something to do. I'll just give you a clue. I'm not going to give it away. The title has something to do with New York City and a place where I've done some Broadway shows and my reminiscences about such an event. There's that. And well, Herbie Hancock. Yes, there's something by him. We may do, there's a Hank Mobley tune that will take us to a divine place, I believe. You know, those are just some of the ideas. And then there's something that was sung on our second album by Fiona Apple that I love particularly. And there's one that Miley Cyrus sang on our second album that's, I think, particularly delicious. You know, stuff like that. But there's plenty of improvisation within all those songs and surprises for me and for the audience.
That's going to be great. Now, I'm sure a lot of our listeners are curious. How did you get into playing, piano in the first place? Was it piano lessons as a kid? You grew up like just outside of Pittsburgh, right?
That's right. A place called West Homestead. There were 4 of us kids. My dad was a doctor, but my mom and my dad always had a yen for the arts of one kind or another. They gave all us kids music lessons. I started to play piano, and when after a year or so, my teacher gave me an arrangement of some jazzy number that just was in me to just adore. That's when I sat down and really started to play. And then before I left Pittsburgh, when I was 15, I started to call up cocktail lounges, and I got a gig or two playing around just because I thought that would be neat. I don't know why. At the time, I'd already had my heart set on an acting career, which I then pursued and have been, as you may know, lucky enough to have,
Wait, you're an actor? You've acted?
Sometimes I am, and I've been able to keep at it. But all this time, I've kept a piano by my side and put some piano in some parts and some movies and plays. And then about 30 years ago, started to play out and about with a band, and just for fun. And it's kind of evolved into this. It's one of the thrills of my life.
I absolutely love it. Well, take me into really quick that when you said 15, you were playing jazz and playing around, but take me into the decision that, what is it, around 17, you moved to New York and you said you're going to try to do the actor thing, at least primarily, neighborhood playhouse training, Broadway debut in Two Gentlemen of Verona. Take me into that shift and say, I'm going to try acting for a while.
Here's what happened. It wasn't even just for a while. I don't know why. I was crazy enough to just make this commitment to a lifelong, what turned out to be, luckily enough, a lifelong marriage to acting. And it started when I was, 10. I used to go see plays, children's theater around Pittsburgh, and I was wildly excited then. I had a camp experience in the summer around 5th grade where I was in a drama thing, and they gave me a part in this show. And my dad, who had said, if you find something you really love doing, that might be a key to your vocational choice. And it was on that night, I remember, that I went to myself, I think maybe that's it. I want to be an actor, but I didn't tell anybody. It was a secret. I used to have a shower every morning. We had a glass shower door, and it used to steam up, and I would put, please God, let me be an actor. And then I'd wipe it off so nobody could see it. And then around 10th, 11th grade, I went to summer sessions to Carnegie Mellon University, who had real actors and teachers, and by that time I was just obsessed with it. So by the time college came around, I just found myself attracted to, and luckily winding up in New York with Sandy Meisner at the Neighborhood Playhouse. And that was it. Started to study with that good teacher and fell into a Broadway show, like you say, and then quickly movies. And it all has kind of kept up since then, believe it or not.
Stay tuned for the rest of my conversation with Jeff Goldblum. But first, a message from a fellow WTOP podcast.
DMV Download, the new daily podcast from WTOP News, is out now. Hosts Megan Clorty and Luke Garrett get the story behind the story.
Every weekday afternoon, Megan and I will go beyond the headlines with WTOP reporters and sources to bring you more on the biggest local stories impacting you, our fellow Washingtonians.
The DMV Download podcast is available now on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe today so you don't miss an episode. The DMV Download podcast is presented by Steamfitters Local 602.
Welcome back to Beyond the Fame for the rest of today's conversation with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, tell me about those early roles, like you were doing a lot with a little, like Nashville, the Tricycle Man, not really saying much, but just connecting storylines, or in Annie Hall, I forgot my mantra at the party. Like, what in those early days? Were you just happy to be part of such big movies, big directors at the time? But B, what do you say? Like, there's not much on the page, but I'm gonna make an impact.
Well, I was so, with this belly full of passion and wonderment and kind of creative ambition that I had from before I even went to New York. And then with this teaching that I, got from Sandy Meisner, I was kind of inflamed. So when I got anything, yes, I was like, what can I do with this? I have a feeling that the sky is the limit. And how can I apply myself to this? And yes, I was just lucky, or whatever you call it, because you can't be good unless a director makes a good movie. And to be in Nashville with Robert Altman, just to do this little part, it allows you to be, do something distinctive and learn some more. And with several of those, I worked with Paul Mazursky early on, if you know him, and that's what happened. And still, I find myself lucky now to be coming up in my fourth Wes Anderson movie. I have a little thing in that coming up, and I had a great creative time doing that. And then in this next dinosaur movie, this Jurassic World Dominion, it's called, coming out June 10th, that Steven Spielberg still a lot to do with. Colin Trevorrow directed this one along with Emily Carmichael, did the script with the original cast, grafted onto the current cast, Laura Dern and Sam Neill and Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt. So I'm just still lucky to be doing things that excite me, that I can learn from, and that I think people may have some interest in.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you mentioned the Jurassic Park. Ian was just an iconic character. You taught us all that life finds a way. Even if it's all lady dinosaurs, they'll still procreate. Did you notice? I noticed when, like, the 20th time I watched it, that Spielberg has Dr. Grant. Remember, in the dropping in the helicopters, he ties two female ends of the seatbelt together. Life finds a way with female seatbelts.
I never, until this very moment, with your spectacular brain and Sherlock Holmesian eye, I never realized that might be a subliminal thematic Easter egg of something to come. You may or may not be right. I'll ask Mr. Spielberg if that was on his mind. I thought all this time that it was just a kind of way to show Sam Neill's character as a guy who was a little bit behind the current technology, but somehow used an out-of-the-box way of thinking to solve things, which is going to come to fruition. But maybe it has something else to do with this molecular phenomenon.
Yeah, see, you're accomplishing more than one thing at once. It's either right or it's one big pile of crap. That's a quote. Hey, I know we're running out of time, but I have to ask you about The Fly. Be afraid, be very afraid. How fun was it playing that mad scientist, Cronenberg body horror? I mean, that's a classic.
Well, thank you so much. It was fun and just delicious to me, because, like I say, when we've talked about it before, directors are the key, in my humble opinion. And David Cronenberg is one of our finest and bravest artists and most unique and original people. I loved it. And that was him at his peak. I loved that part. I'd seen Vincent Price in the 50s, a kind of a very different variation of that. And I loved it. It really challenged. I thought it was something to chew on, and I worked hard on it, and it turned out well. I'm proud of it. Yeah, I loved it.
And final seconds, Independence Day. I'm not going to ask you about the Will Smith slap. Forget all that. That's too much. That's too much drama for lately. But just memories of that movie, and forget about the fat lady. You're obsessed with the fat lady, trying to get out of the alien ship. Just what's it like? You're playing someone warning humanity. There's been a lot of that going on lately.
Well, how about that? Yes, that is a kind of a thread of something similar, even in the Jurassic Park movie. Yes, the world is facing altogether something dire, and in order to solve it, we all have to come together. That turned out to be, one of the elements in that story, and in this upcoming Jurassic, and in our real lives. So from our mouths to the ear of destiny, I hope we all come out okay.
All right. Well, tonight our ear of destiny will be tuned into your jazz pianist jazz concert at the Strathmore at North Bethesda, 8 p.m. It's like literally a couple hours away, folks. So go on there on Strathmore's website and get your tickets now. Jeff Goldblum, this was an honor. Thanks so much.
It's a greater honor for me. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. I'll see you all tonight.
All right. Sounds good. Take care.
Take care.
And before we run, here's my brief red carpet encounter with Goldblum at the 2016 Kennedy Center Honors, where he showed up to honor Al Pacino.
Do you have a favorite Al Pacino role or line?
I love The Godfathers, of course. And he says, it's not personal, Sonny. It's business. Strictly business. He's a unique person and wildly talented, deeply serious and high integrity about his pursuit of excellence. He works very hard, and he's just a beautiful actor. Thank you.
If Michael Corleone went to the mats with Tony Montana, which one would be the last man standing? Very different styles.
Say hello to my little friend. And he says, I don't know, it's a tie.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.